The Edmonton Oilers could be in trouble, according to some prospect experts in the hockey world relating to their prospect pool. I'll get into all that and more today on Oilers Digest. But before we get on all the breakdowns, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest as we break any and all Oiler news. Of course, there are some Oiler games happening in a little under 2 weeks. The Penticton Rookies Tournament is going on, so at long last, people, we finally have some hockey pretty soon, but we still have some news to cover in the process. And make sure to subscribe here, as we just reached a little over 1,700 subscribers. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us along the ride here, and I'm sure it'll be a very exciting season to come. But when it comes to the Oilers prospects, is there a thin pipeline? That's what many around the hockey world think. Scott Wheeler of The Athletic last February said the Oilers pool is beginning to bear the brunt of the team's push to contend. They've made just one draft's worth of picks in the last two drafts, and of the 7 selections they did make, only 2 were in the draft's first 4 rounds, the least of any team in the league during that span. So not a whole lot of draft picks to go around the table. Of course, the Oilers did trade a whole bunch there, trying to get rid of whatever was in the cupboard to make the team better. And of course, one of those 2 picks, Reed Schaefer, has already been traded as well. He was in the Matisse Ekholm trade at the trade deadline in 2023. Add in the prospects they do not have taken the kind of steps you would have hoped for, and it's one of the weaker groups in the league. Followed up with Stephen Ellis of the Daily Faceoff in late July. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The Edmonton Oilers have one of the worst prospect pools in the league, and that's not a surprise to anyone who follows this organization closely. They're built to win now, and they're willing to move on from the future to make it work. Although Jeff Jackson, in the early goings of the summer, tried to restock the cupboards with Matthew Savoie and Roby Vinni, but we'll get into those later. And Aaron Idovich of Dobber Hockey last April before the 2024 NHL Draft. The Edmonton Oilers prospect pool is far from incredible. And for Corey Pronman, who is the main prospect evaluator for The Athletic, he had the Oilers penciled into the 32nd spot on the ranking of pipeline rankings throughout the league, but then they went out and made aggressive moves to trade for Sam O'Reilly and deal for Matt Savoie. Their system is still quite late, but it at least has some substance in players I could see helping Edmonton win one day, or just helping Edmonton in general one day. The key additions being, of course, Matt Savoie and Sam O'Reilly, and a key graduate being Philip Broberg, who, of course, was lost in the offer sheets, and he ranked the Oilers 28th last year, so two spots worse than they were last year. Of course, the 2 teams below them being the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche, and he gave the Oilers a C at the 2024 NHL Draft. So it's not looking very good on the prospect side of things. Of course, with the main squad, it's looking phenomenal. But they're obviously in win now mode. Unlike other teams who are stocking the cupboards for a push in future years. We'll get into that list later, but let's get into the Oilers prospects. At number 1, we have Matt Savoie, 5'9", 179 pounds, a right-handed shot. He's a very deceptive shooter from what I've seen from highlights, with the Moose Jaw Warriors or the Wenatchee Wild. He's very quick and deceptive, and that's exactly what the Oilers need. He was drafted 9th in 2022 by the Buffalo Sabres, and Pronman has him tiered at a middle of the lineup player with his skating, puck skills, hockey sense, compete in shot, most of which all at above NHL average, with his puck skills being at NHL average. With his analysis, Savoie tore up the WHL this season, although his performance at the World Juniors was less impressive. You could say that for just about any player on that Team Canada squad, except for maybe Macklin Celebrini. He was traded in the offseason for Ryan McLeod. Savoie is a great skater with a high skill level. He buzzes around the ice due to his speed and compete, attacking loose pucks and taking them to the net consistently despite his smaller frame. Now, that just makes me excited for the type of player that Matt Savoie is, but you just don't want him to turn into, another Kyler Yamamoto. He's a fast and loose honey badger, but injuries did catch up to Kyler Yamamoto. But he is a very skilled playmaker who makes a ton of difficult plays at very fast speeds. The concern on Savoie is his size, and that is a minor question of whether he's actually dynamic offensively for that frame at higher levels. Some scouts wondered whether he matured physically early and never took a major step after. I see a potential middle 6 wing still, but his stock is down in the league after being picked in the top 10. And yeah, that raises some questions, like why did Buffalo give up on him so early? But Buffalo, I believe, just got impatient, and they were willing to trade for a player who was NHL ready, one in Ryan McLeod. So the fact they gave up on him too early. One team's trash is another's treasure, and I'm very excited for Matt Savoie. Next up on the docket is Sam O'Reilly from the London Knights, 6'1", 184 pounds, also shoots right. He was drafted 32nd in 2024. Of course, the Oilers traded up into the first round, and he's projected to play NHL games, and his skating, puck skills, hockey sense incomplete, at NHL average or above. And again, they must have seen something in Sam O'Reilly that made them want to jump up into the first round. I know. Mark Hunter there, he was, in and around the Oiler table. He knew a lot about Sam O'Reilly, and Jeff Jackson picked his brain and then made the decision to go after O'Reilly. And of course, O'Reilly was very good for a rookie in the OHL. He's had a major role on a top London team, playing in all situations. He's a two-way center. He competes hard and has a physicality. I've seen quicker skaters, but he can escape pressure and has good enough quickness for the NHL level. O'Reilly has quality, skill, and vision, and create chances. Of course, he was on Easton Cowan's line with the London Knights, and from what I saw of him in the Memorial Cup, very shifty, very sneaky, and his compete is phenomenal. He has a decent shot, but I like him more when he's making plays. He has the potential to be a bottom six center in the league. And again, that makes me all the more excited for Sam O'Reilly. Of course, when it comes to the Oilers prospect pool, slim pickings, but the names at the top have me excited. And lastly here, let's go back between the pipes with Eemil Vinni. It says here December 18th, 10,005, but it's obviously a typo. It's December 18th, 2005, 6'3", at 187 pounds, catches left. Drafted 64th in 2024, and he's projected to play NHL games, and his skating is above NHL average, but his hockey sense is below NHL average, and Pronman goes into that. He says Vinny has been a player on the NHL prospect radar for a few years, even though his stock hasn't taken off as expected this season. He has been so highly thought of because of his natural athleticism. He has the quick twitch of an NHL goalie in his lower half. He makes a lot of difficult saves moving across the crease, and when he challenges shooters, he can explode out of the net. Vinny's game can be quite busy in net, though, with a lot of extra movement, and he doesn't always track the puck well. He has an NHL toolkit and could be a backup goalie, but as for whether he could be a long-term player, he's too inconsistent at this point to say. And for any goalie prospect, that's the bottom line. Goalies, they're a dice roll. They're quite voodoo. You never know what you're going to get until they're in their mid-20s, unless you get someone ridiculous like a Jeremy Swayman or Jake Ottinger, who just bursts onto the scene and solidifies himself as a top goalie prospect. Now, there's some other prospects that Pronman did cover that has a chance to play, like Bo Akey, who's currently with the Barrie Colts. Mobile puck-moving defenseman. He didn't play much of the season, but he has enough skill and athleticism in his game to be intriguing as a prospect. Shane LaChance played a notable role on a top Boston University team. Of course, he was the right-hand man to the first overall pick, Macklin Celebrini. He's a huge winger with very good hands, but his skating is rough. It seems to be the case for many college players. They're good on the offensive side of the things, but when it's skating, very middle of the pack. And lastly here, Robert Venti, who the Oilers acquired from the Ottawa Senators, has the hands and shot to score as a pro, but I don't know if he has enough other dimensions in his game to be a legit middle six wing. You can see there are multiple other prospects on the list that could have a chance to play. Like I said, Bo Akey, LaChance, Robert Venti, but there's also some other players like Samuel Janssen, Maxim Berizkin, Nikita Yevseyev, Paul Fisher, and Matvey Petrov, who I thought at the time was a steal for the Edmonton Oilers, as it was that weird sort of COVID draft year with the North Bay Battalion. The book still isn't out on him, but I'm very excited to see what he could potentially do in even Bakersfield, or even when if he gets a shot with the Oilers. And now, when it comes to the prospect pools, of course, it's always the same suspects at the top: Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, Columbus, Ottawa, Montreal. The list goes on and on. That's either teams who have not been very good for a long time, or know how to stock their cupboards properly. With teams like New Jersey, even Utah in prior years with Bill Armstrong, they've been gaining assets like they've been going out of style. And then when it comes to the lower half of the league, it's either teams, that are still paying for their cup contending years, like Colorado, Tampa Bay, and especially Pittsburgh too. Pittsburgh is at an awful prospect pool for years, or it's just teams that their assets. They just treat them like candy. Vegas, looking at you. That's it for today's episode when it comes to the Oilers prospect pool. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Oilers prospect pool. Are you worried? Are you just focused on the main team as for right now? Again, let me know down in the comments. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.